All right, everybody, welcome to the podcast. Back by popular demand, as you can imagine, my good friend and colleague and one of my heroes in a lot of different areas, Dr. Fred Cleary. If you haven't seen the podcast in the past, please go back and watch those. It's one heck of an experience to exchange ideas with this gentleman because of his never-ending want for knowledge and his passion for life on every single level. If you can hear that, you can hear that cackle and know it's real. His brief bio. I've told the story in the other ones how we met. Just I think one of the most hysterical meetings I've ever had. But the story with Fred is Dr. Fred Clary is simple. He's a chiropractor with a diplomat in neurology, and he started out as a power lifter, which is just one heck of a cool background, I think, because most power lifters don't become doctors, and then they usually don't go on to become diplomats in neurology. They usually don't open clinics and heal the sick. And nothing wrong with being a power lifter. Some amazing people I've met through Dr. Clary, and once he sort of got my interest going, I listened to podcasts by power lifters, and they're amazing people. But Fred is a bit of a renaissance man, right? Because he's doing gentle things, he's doing crazy, wild things. And today we're going to talk about a subject that I just love the title, psychoneuroimmunology, right? I mean, a little intimidating when you first hear the word, but like anything, when I was a little kid, the nuns always said, break that word down into smaller pieces, which is, a good strategy for life as a whole, right? Life's too much.
They hit you too, Doc? Did the
What's
nuns
that?
wrap your knuckles too? I got my knuckles wrapped all the time by the nuns.
Yeah, anytime you stepped out of line, you got that. I got the pen on top of the head. They had this little kind of whipping action. Hit
They're
you
like
right on the
ninjas with that stuff. Oh, yeah.
Yeah. I never got stuck with one of those stars, but it felt like it emotionally. But if you break this word down, psycho, like psychology, neuro, the nervous system, and then immunology. And if anything's a hot topic right now, it's our immune system. And I think what I've seen, the devastation that I see in society, not just by the virus, but by our politicians and our sad leadership and the ignorance overall on the news. It's an absolute disrespect for how our minds work and how close that connection is to the strength of our immune system. And psychoneuroimmunology is an absolute study and respect for our thoughts and the manifestation through our nervous system into how we make cells that fight off viruses, bacteria, and cancer, right? So, I mean, big potatoes there, big ones. So Dr. Fred, with his knowledge in neurology, I figured he'd be the perfect guest for this. So start us off, Fred. When you think about this topic, what is the first thing that kind of comes to mind? Why is it important, and what's this thing? How long is it? It hasn't been around that long. It's a relatively new science as far as from what I was studying.
Yeah. So I'm going to back up a little bit, Doc, and I'm going to chunk it down just a little bit more because psychoneuroimmunology, oh, wow, that's a big word. Let's just call it, and I'm going to steal a little bit from Bruce Lipton. Let's call it the biology of thought or the biology of belief. Okay.
Yeah.
And I think that would be easier for people to understand. And we're not talking anything like The Secret. Like, if I want a Cadillac, I can think real hard and it's going to manifest right in my living room. It doesn't work like that. But we know that our thoughts, our mental health is connected to our immune system health. And I'll say that again. Our mental health is connected to our immune system health. It's a two-way street. And that street, that connection is your nervous system between the two. So if you think about it, if you're depressed, we now have plenty of studies, and we've had them since, like you said, it's new, last 20 years. We have some really good studies showing if you're depressed, certain immune cells stop working properly. If you're depressed, certain chemicals are created in your body to make you more susceptible to infectious disease. Now, that's crazy. That's crazy. You mean, Fred, if I just think I'm, I'm, strong and brave, and I go lick some, garbage can that's sitting out in the street, I'm going to be okay. No, that's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is that there's a balance. We use a fancy word called homeostasis, but there's a balance between the needs of the consciousness and the needs of the unconscious. Right now, Doc just drank some water. I just had some, I don't know, crazy kombucha or whatever it is, and that's being processed by our body. We don't have to think about it. We don't think about how our immune system is running. But guess what? It's not autonomous. The controller is your nervous system, your brain, and your nerves. And they do that unconsciously, controlling, oh, let's digest this. Let's move this water this way. Let's move this that way. It controls everything. It also controls the little white blood cells. Like when you go to your doctor and get some blood work, they say, oh, your red cells are this and your white cells are this. Well, there's many types of white cells, and that's your immune system. It fights off infection. It fights off disease. It also controls damage. Like if I'm working out and I tear up my muscles, it has to be repaired by those white cells. So they're involved in inflammation. And we'll come back to inflammation over and over again today, because we now know that if you're scared, have anxiety, have fear, depressed, all these negative mental health things you think you would go to a psychologist for, that it actually slows down your immune system to the point. And again, hear me, this is basic science research. I'm not making this up, that the cells we use to fight cancer can't work properly. And that is all coordinated through the immune system, nervous system. And Fred, why would this be so? Well, it's real simple. Our brain is set up for efficiency. That biological thing between our ears, it's really the consistency of jelly. So you think you got jelly or Jello floating in some Gatorade, that's your brain. Now it's very fragile, but very powerful, but it likes to be efficient. It likes to be frugal. So it uses its resources very well, and it likes to save resources. Your brain, which operates on this efficiency, it created this program called the mind. And that's how your thoughts, we were talking about my background in the back. It makes me feel good to look at my old hometown of Baltimore. And that's part of your mind, your emotions, your thoughts, your memories. We have a fancy word called executive function. I was getting online today. Okay, do I got to put on a password? What's my password? How do I set this up for Zoom? That's executive function. How do you make your bed? How do you do your job? That's all what we call executive function. And that's a part of your brain, part of your nervous system. All those things require ATP or energy. That's your energy currency. And it likes to be efficient. If I'm running away from a saber-toothed tiger, if I'm running away from, danger, a robber, my body has to be efficient. My brain has to be efficient to take care of the task. So what does it shut down? If I got a little cold in my lung, like a little virus, do I need to be fighting that? Or do I need to be using my deltoid muscles and my arm muscles to pick up a bat to hit this guy? Well, of course, I got to defend my family, right? There's a robber coming in the house. It doesn't matter that there's a little infection in my toenail right now, this moment, right? So we call that what? The sympathetic nervous system, right? Fight or flight. So that's part of your unconscious or autonomic nervous system that's running. And your autonomic and your parasympathetic, your resting, digesting, growth, that type of nervous system, they're both unconscious. And there's a tug of war between the two. If you're constantly in stress, negative stress, trying to fight off robbers, trying to fight off the saber-toothed tigers, you don't need your immune system. We now know how this works. When you're under stress, your body your brain up here in front, your brain releases corticotropin. It's a fancy word, corticotropin releasing factor. You don't have to remember, this is no quiz, but that goes to your pituitary and then to your adrenal glands. Those organs or those parts of the body release cortisol and adrenaline. Those stress hormones actually slow down our natural killer cells. It's a T cell that's like a Pac-Man. It eats up bacteria, viruses, and cancer, bad cells. It also slows down the function of your T cells, your thymus cells. We hear everything in the news. Oh, for COVID-19, it's just not antibodies. You need T cells. Well, of course, it's the most important thing. Antibodies aren't, but it shuts them down. It slows them down. We also know that when you have a lot of stress, that cortisol and adrenaline affect the B cells for making antibodies. Now, everyone's going out there getting their vaccines, right? I'm getting this vaccine, and we don't have to go into that today. That's a whole different podcast. But hear me out. Even with traditional vaccines, not the COVID ones, you still have to have a healthy immune system for the magic goo to do what it's supposed to do. It's not magic. You just don't inject it. Oh, it's magic. I had an elderly patient who's pretty sickly say, oh, I got my vaccines. And I guess, I wish you would have talked to me first because you're not healthy. Your body can't produce or do what it's supposed to do. It can't take that vaccine and do what it's supposed to do. For example, if you're weak, sickly, and unhealthy, if I give you a big T-bone steak, a baked potato, and a salad, you may not be able to digest it all. You'll get constipated. You'll get indigestion. That's good food for me and you, right? We could eat some meat, right?
Sure.
We could process it, but your body's too weak. So you have to understand that you can't even produce antibodies, which are proteins, if you're under stress. And it makes sense. If I'm fighting a saber-toothed tiger, or we're cavemen, and we're running from one valley to the next, do I really need to make antibodies to that cold I had yesterday? Or do I need to get across the valley? We worry about that later, right?
So what you're saying is the body's really good at prioritizing. It's really good at looking at the situation and saying, here's what I need to do to survive right now. And then later, when the war's over, the saber-toothed tiger is slain, you can get to make a meal, digest that food, because your whole different nervous system takes over.
Correct.
And that leads me to one thing I was going to get into is the chronic versus the acute stress.
Okay.
And the difference in those, and you kind of touched on that. But one of the things I was reading was that the chronic stressors, slightly different than the acute stress. Both of them, however, are going to shut off the immune system. So
Correct.
Having the acute stress is a very stimulating experience, and we're really designed really well for that. But the immune system wouldn't work during that short interval of time. But once that's over, we shift, just like a day and night cycle, like you say, searching back for equilibrium, trying to find the middle. The body goes back to a better state and then does all the healing. But you add a chronic stress, where they say basically relationships and finances. And in this case, I guess we'll throw in, the world upside down. And the day after day, low-grade chronic stress, and the immune system hasn't been able to turn up and turn on and do its job for a long period of time. And what grows? The cancer cells grow. The different bacteria and viruses take hold and reproduce before the immune system wakes up and gets after them. So I see what you're saying, and I think it's crucial that people get to that. So for me, when you're in that situation, what would you say are some tips to get us out of that? So we're living this life. We now recognize that, hey, this is not right. I can't get away with being in chronic stress. I can't get away with staying in acute stress. I have to, so people go on vacation, or they take drugs, or they get an addiction of some other type to change their state, right? And you can see why. I mean, I don't have a problem understanding why people are alcoholics. I have a good idea how to change that, but I don't pretend to think, well, that's not a mystery to me. They're trying to change their state, and they don't have the tools to do it. There's no more constructive tool than to drink, and it's so simple and so cheap and so available and socially acceptable. And before you know it, you have a mess on your hands. So what are some of the things you do, maybe coping mechanisms or strategies to change your state when you get into maybe a chronic stress state or an acute stress that lasts too long? Do you have suggestions for that?
Oh, absolutely. And I just want to back up, Doc. We have time to talk about. Everyone forgets that the immune system has three parts. You have your T cells, right? Your thymus cells that go around Pac-Man and eat things. Then you have your B cells, which produce your antibodies. That's your antibody stuff, more like what's going on in the blood. And then you have your complement system. Now, this is the big one. The complement system is chemicals, cytokines and chemokines and kinins, all these, and this is what's killing people in COVID. They're not dying. The virus just doesn't go in and blow you up. It's not like watching the Alien movie with Sigourney Weaver. It doesn't work like that. It gets in there and it turns on your complement system, and you start producing chemicals that cause inflammation, and it doesn't turn off. That's a big thing. So not only do our white cells slow down and don't work properly, we start releasing, it's called interleukin 6, IL-6, and we start producing this chemical that causes you to be chronically inflamed. Now, here's a big one. It can last days to weeks to months in your body, depending on the tissue. And that's why it's important to take some time off. So what I do is when I'm feeling stressed or whatever, like even at work, I'll go for a walk. I'll walk out of the office and go for a little walk. I'll close the door of the treatment room. There may be people outside, and I'll do some breathing exercises. Sometimes I open up my phone. I just get on Facebook. Fred, how can you be on Facebook in the middle of the day? I'm just blowing off steam, just, that patient that you always get, they always comes in late and it's the last one before lunch. Why did your front desk always schedule that person? That's what I want to know.
Yeah, I see it.
So I also, like today, I take a day off in the middle of the week and I do some fun things. Like I'll listen to jazz. I'll watch a movie. If the movies were more open, there's more out there, I'll physically go to a matinee on Thursdays, and then I'll go pick up my kids from school. It's kind of fun. They've only been back in school for 2 days here in Minnesota, but I got to pick up, 4 high schoolers. That was kind of fun, and drive one here and drive one there. That to me is relaxing. I also work out. And if I can't work out, if I'm injured, if I'm tired, I still go coach. So I keep my foot in the door with positive people. People don't realize how positivity affects the brain. It changes your chemistry. If you're going to be an Eeyore from Winnie the Pooh and be down and depressed and, oh, look at this, there's another variant again. Woe is me. It's going to rain eventually. If you got one of those people around you, you actually, through your mirror neuron system, a system of neurons in your brain where you match and model people you're around, you start picking up those traits. Well, guess what? You're going to start slowing down your immune system. If everyone in your family is scared of COVID, you have to fight real hard not to be. And guess what? This is what gets me mad. You mentioned the governors and all this, and I know I'm going off a little bit on the rails here, but this is like a self-promoting strategy. Make people scared, weaken their immune system, and then this thing that is basically a bad cold takes them out because their immune system's weakened. Isolate them, do those mechanical activities that weaken the immune system, do those chemical activities, make them scared, that weaken the immune system, and then they get the cold. Oh,
I was looking up exactly. I was looking up a couple of main stressors that decrease immune system function in research. In other words, they looked at T cell counts and the cytokine release and everything to find out, this event is gonna decrease your immune system function. And one of them was to be separated from a close family member. I mean, it's almost, and that was in the top 3. That was in the top 3. And that's from 2016. That isn't something new. Other one was sleep deprivation or too much sleep. You think about people out of work, stuck in the house, depressed, and they sleep too much. They're laying around too much. Whether gaining weight, of course, is a horrible thing, and it's happened to so many people, but also being too sleepy, laying around too much, not just a lack of exercise, but actually sleeping too much, which I thought was interesting. And of course, sleep deprivation. And then they also said that stressors in your childhood were a major factor in your cytokine release. And then it led to challenges in your adult life. And one of the things that I think you and I've talked about many times is that the childhoods we had some challenges to them.
Yeah.
And that made us better and bigger people. We both were listening to Wayne Dyer back then, and he went to go find his alcoholic father who abandoned him, and he found that he had died, went to his gravestone and punched the earth and laid there and cried. And all of a sudden he was overwhelmed by the concept. He said God spoke to him in that moment and told him, you would not be this great if you didn't have this horrible of a father. Mm-hmm. This drove you to seek answers. It was either going to destroy him, as you know from your friends in your childhood and mine in my childhood. They were either destroyed by the circumstances, or they rose up and said, that just made me stronger. I'm not going down. And that's something you and I share. It's obvious with you. It's probably more subtle with me, but I don't go down easy, right? Oh. So, and I learned that at a young age because it was shameful to be laying on the sidewalk. So stand up, and that is something that I think is in your childhood. When you have that, you have to break those patterns. And there's one person that knows about pattern interrupt. It's you, because I think you taught me the term, and to just change your state or your pattern instantly. And I think when I look at this big word, psychoneuroimmunology, one of the things that came to me in my mind was we can choose our thoughts.
Yep.
We have enough developed cortex to say, you know what, these are destructive thoughts. These are negative thoughts. Even the simple thing that you and I did years ago to change the word, problem to challenge. The energy it gave you to say, ready to take on a challenge, ready to take on a problem. Ooh, problem sounds heavy, right? Challenge sounds fascinating. Are you up for a challenge? Most people are up for a challenge. I don't know how many people are up for a problem. People avoid problems. They run from them. They feel heavy, right? So simply changing your verbiage, because what I want from this podcast is a great understanding, like you're giving us, of how the nervous system and the immune system and the thoughts are related. I also want people to leave with some strategies, right? Some ideas, because like you said, if you can't work out, you're going to go coach, because I know the injuries you've been through and I can't even imagine, because I've never been laid up as long as you've been laid up from working out. I don't think I've worked out as intensely as you have, but in a different way, I probably have come close more recently. But in the past, I think of all the stuff that's gone on with your body and how much time that is contemplating, will I get better? How much better will I get? What can I still do? And the attitude that takes. And think about, like you said earlier, the immune system is repairing broken tissue. Mm-hmm. It's repairing broken down tissue. So you better make sure your mind is on when you're healing, because think how depressing it could be when people are injured. How many auto accident patients do you have, right?
Well, how about super athletes who don't have a correct mindset? They've never been injured, genetic gifted, and they get to college, they get to the pros, and they twist an ankle, and it's the end of the world, instead of saying, yes, I finally get to prove how strong I am.
Yeah.
I mean, not people look at that. My wife said something or made a comment on Facebook today. I put a post out there. What did you learn in the last 12 months? And it's gone viral. I got so many hits. And she made a comment that, you have to be creative to continue your life as normal. I'm paraphrasing. But that's me and her decide, okay, you're going to lock us down. We can't go to a restaurant. All right, we'll go over to Wisconsin where you can. All right, we'll eat at home. Oh, you're shutting down all the fun things we like to do with our kids. You didn't shut down the park. We're going to go for a walk, guys. We're going to do an adventure. You didn't shut the beach down. We're going to go to the beach with 3 other families on the beach. We just kept doing things and finding ways to continue. They shut the gym down. We unloaded our equipment from the gym and put it in a friend's basement. And we still training in the basement. We're about to move it all out again. So we found ways to go around. We were up for the challenge. And I think I know that's how our immune system works. Our immune system likes those challenges. We have to drink from garden hoses. We have to jump in mud puddles. We get a little bacteria. We get a little virus exposure, and then we get stronger. Well,
Mm-hmm.
your nervous system does the same thing. And your nervous system will say, go, go, go. There's a saber-tooth tiger, shut down the immune system. Let's beat this thing up. Then it goes back and say, okay, it's time to build again. And we flip back, as we talk, fancy word, parasympathetic. So it's
Mm-hmm.
this back and forth all the time. Well, what happens if you're stuck in that fight or flight, that stress? Guess what? You don't digest food well, right? Your hormones are all thrown off. Your sleeping is thrown off. Ready for this? If your sleeping is thrown off, you got sleep deprivation, you don't get growth hormone. That's a natural
Mm-hmm.
hormone that heals everything in your body.
Mm-hmm.
Every cell is needed. We
Mm-hmm.
also now know, ready for this? New stuff. Human growth hormone is needed to make new brain cells.
Oh, wow.
So if
Fantastic.
you have sleep deprivation, you can't think new and better thoughts.
Wow. That makes sense. So you think about how, like I have, one teenage daughter and two daughters in their early 20s, and they really press their luck with going to bed on time and, sort of doing the usual.
Same here.
Yeah. Could you imagine? I know you're in there. And then the next day they're a mess, right?
Yeah.
They're crying over their homework. They're laying on the floor. And I'm like, it's pretty simple. You went to bed at 3 a.m. You got 5 hours sleep. And now you wonder why you can't do a simple math problem. And you forgot, basically what your name is. And it's all tears. And I feel terrible. No one wants to see their child suffer. But at the same time, I'm like, did you learn yet? Did you figure it out? You were up doing what? I thought I heard some thumping around in your room. Okay, you were up at 3 a.m. on some,
TikTok
dramatic
videos.
phone call. Yeah, who knows? I hope it's something fun. But so for me, I've been in the situation myself where I'm thinking, I think my life sort of feels like it's falling apart. I think I'm exhausted. It's simple. I need to sleep.
Mm-hmm.
I got to get to bed early tonight. So my daughter's nickname for me is 9 to 5 Mike, because she actually made a channel, I guess, that's called that, because I tell her friends real seriously. Yeah, I keep a straight face. And they say, it's really important that you start to do healthy things now that you're, 16. And one of those things is to go to bed at 9 p.m. and get up at 5 a.m. and start with some affirmations, some exercise, drink about a gallon of water. And they look at me like, okay, Mr. Christopher, they kind of, the ones that know me go, yeah, okay. And they laugh. The ones that don't know me very well, like, okay, that's nice. See you later. And then they all go in the room and start talking about it. Like, what's your dad talking about? He's like a crazy person. He hasn't eaten a potato chip in 20 years. Is that true? So, but I think strategies in coping mechanisms for this, I think are great. I one time sat through a half hour of affirmations at a chiropractic seminar with about 200 people just shouting out affirmations. And you know what that's like. I mean, it's just a powerful thing. And for me, the affirmations can be corny. So I have to have ones that aren't too corny. I don't like ones that are too floaty. I like, kind of more powerful ones that, basically say things that I really believe, and it's not hard for me to believe positive things, thank God. But if it's too out there, I really don't feel it in my heart, and it isn't as powerful. So, I mean, do you do affirmations?
I do affirmations, but it's not just words that I say out loud. So you can call it prayer or silence prayer, but I've had these type of thoughts and affirmations. I used to say them out loud, but now when I wake up in the morning, and you're going to giggle, it just comes out of me. And I always say, it's like, thank you. I got that from Wayne Dyer. I always start with thank you. I say, thank you, God, for giving me another opportunity to find ways to get stronger. So I'm always looking for an opportunity to get stronger. So that's just not a barbell, oh, give me that stroke patient. I want to work on them. Someone that, Johns Hopkins and the Mayo Clinic threw away. Nope, give them to me. I will fix them. I will learn. I will stay up. I will do what it takes. Give me the opportunity to be a better dad, So, I'm picking up the kids from high school. Hey, how was your day? Interacting with them. Even though, teenagers don't want to talk to you. Don't embarrass me. I'm with my friend, that kind of stuff. You got that,
Absolutely.
I just find, how can I be a stronger person? How can I be a stronger spouse? All right, I hate doing the dishes, but I'm going to do the damn dishes. Now, I have a way of doing dishes where I do them. I don't wait till they're full. I will wash in the dishwasher 2 dishes. I don't care, because I go to bed, I run the thing. I just find it's a better system for me. Of course,
Okay.
my wife would say I'm wasting water, but I don't care. This is my system. So,
Yeah.
you know, what are your opportunities? Imagine getting up in the middle of a pandemic, watching mainstream media where they say it's the darkest day of the pandemic, which is they've said about 20 times now. I'm
Yeah.
still waiting for it really get dark. You know, I don't know how many levels and shades of dark we get, but
Lots.
you know, when they tell you that it's the darkest day of the pandemic, and of course, you know, death rates have only gone up between 13 and 16% nationwide, but you know, don't let the truth hit you. But I look, say, okay, what's the opportunity I can do today, especially in Minnesota right now? Talk about stress. We just lost another unarmed Black man to cop violence. Now, I'm not going to go into politics either side, but you know, they're rioting again in a Minneapolis suburb. I drove through, I put it on my Facebook. I got stuck in between a convoy of Humvees with machine guns on top and a troop carrier. And I'm just trying to get to my workout. And, you know, and the guy pulled over and said, you may want to get out of this. I was like, I'm trying to get out of this. You know, I don't want to be stuck here. And it was pretty funny. He laughed. I said, believe me, I'm just trying to work out, dude. You know, I got behind you and you guys just kept coming around me. So that could cause stress, or you could say, okay, where's the opportunities where I can get stronger, not physically, emotionally, intellectually, spiritually from this experience? What can I learn? So when the gentleman knocked on my door with his machine gun, I said, hey, how are you? Oh, you know, we're going to be staging here. You may want to pull out of this convoy. Thank you. And thank you for your hard work. I'm sure you'd rather be home with your kids.
Yeah.
And he smiled and said, thank you for saying that.
That's awesome.
I guarantee I made his day.
Oh, 100%.
Yeah.
He's never heard anything like that on the job.
No. So just think of, now let's go to the neurology doc. By doing that, by connecting with someone else, I release this fancy hormone called oxytocin. Okay. Yeah. In pregnant women, it helps with, you know, contractions, and in moms, it helps with nursing, but in guys and women, it helps us socially connect to someone else. And you know what we found out? High levels of oxytocin prevent cancer.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So
makes sense.
Maybe it's selfish. I said, I'm going to be nice to this guy so I can take out some prostate cells right now. Now, I didn't really think that, but I'm sure it was in there somewhere.
Yeah. At another level of the strata. I think of the great Dr. Cleary, and I remember talking to him about cancer years ago. And he said, in one sense, cancer is a socially acceptable form of suicide.
Oh.
And I thought, wow, that is really sad. Now, he didn't mean that it all was. There are plenty of healthy, beautiful, wonderful, purpose-driven people on this earth that have died of cancer, that suffer. You know, I don't mean it. That is not a general sweeping statement by any means. However, I have been through and seen family members and friends, you know, contract, develop, and die from cancer. And there is a higher likelihood in people that really don't want to be here and are too responsible and wonderful to end their own life, because they're in love with God, they're in love with their family, but they just have lost some kind of want or connection, and their body whittles itself down. And like you're saying with the oxytocin, there's a way it's happening. Now we know a chemical marker of feeling miserable, feeling detached, isolated, quarantined, that you may just start to break your body down because your purpose is gone. Right. I tell, my definition of health, I might have said before, I'm sure I did, is every cell in your body on purpose. Yeah. So a healthy society is everybody's got a purpose. Every person walking around feels they're part of the greater good of the society. Imagine how beautiful that would be if everybody felt connected to everybody and felt that their role meant something. You got out of bed and you had a task to do, and people depended on you and loved you for it, and you got rewarded in some way.
We wouldn't have riots right now in Brooklyn Center. You wouldn't have riots, and you know, you wouldn't have senseless deaths either if we were all connected. And that's the important thing to understand. So you ready for this? This is what the nervous system and the immune system do. They can, and I'm going to be a little tongue in cheek. It connects your right big toe with your left earlobe.
Mm-hmm.
Your nervous system, your immune system connect every cell of your body with each other and
Yep.
let them know who you are. When you're not connected, your immune system tries to get rid of the cancer, but that's what cancer and disease is. A diseased lung, a diseased heart is not who you are. And your body goes around trying to prune it, get rid of it, try to heal it, and gives it a choice. There's two choices your immune system gives it. Dude, get better or I'm taking you out.
Yeah.
It's 0 and 1. Here's the
Mm-hmm.
problem. If you're not connected to everyone, your family and your society, then your brain unconsciously, your nervous system will start saying, I'm not part of this. And like you said, I'm going to take myself out. I'm the
Mm-hmm.
bad guy. I'm the social cancer in this
Yep.
family, you know?
And
And
you add to that insults of the diseases of misery, right?
yes,
Uh,
yes,
Alcohol, cigarettes, and inactivity. All the distractions that can happen. You add those insults to this feeling of disconnectedness.
yeah,
And in modern life, think of I don't know how much more lonely we can be than we are during this pandemic. I mean, society was already going the wrong direction with some of the mismanagement and misunderstanding of social media.
yes,
When you're looking at someone else's life on Facebook and it's a highlight reel, if you really understand social media, you don't put a picture of yourself crying in the corner. You usually put yourself on the beach, popping a wheelie on your bike or something. You're trying to have some good old fashioned fun, and you document that. It tends to be that kind of thing. I don't even think people are doing that necessarily on purpose. They're just like, I'm not too proud of the fact that I had a miserable day. I'm not going to. Well, some people do, but I wouldn't put that on social media. I will admit that I have miserable days, but I'm not going to highlight them. I don't want to make them any bigger than they were, right? So I think you add that kind of the misery of social media, especially in young kids, to this quarantine and pandemic, and you have the loneliness that has got to be so detrimental to our immune system that I don't know how to even measure it. And where do you think that's going? Like, what kind of diseases do you see manifesting? Autoimmune diseases, allergies. Obviously, we talked about cancer. What do you think's happening if people don't sort of snap out of this and start to live again?
Well, just think of this. This is the first time in human history that we've quarantined and isolated the strong and healthy.
Yeah.
We
Yeah.
usually isolate and quarantine. That's what Ellis Island was in New York, right?
Mm-hmm.
The sick or potentially sick, right? You
Yeah.
quarantine them. The word quarantine doesn't mean 40 days. So the Venetians back in medieval times, when a ship would pull into Venice, you have to stay out there for 40 days to make sure you don't got the plague, right?
Right.
And if
Right.
there's no plague, we let you come in and you can sell your blankets and your trinkets and whatever.
Mm-hmm.
So guess what? We quarantine the healthy. So think about this now. Like my kids' first day of school was yesterday. Took pictures, put them on Facebook. First day of school, first day of high school, 9th, 10th, 11th, and 12th grader, all going to the same high school. It's April,
Yeah.
first day of
Right.
school.
Right.
They go in, but can you imagine what we're setting up? The things about the teenagers, they're losing something. They're becoming adults. Children under the age of 12 or 13 are not small adults. They're aliens. They have extra organs, at least one, and it's called the thymus gland.
Oh, right.
And that thymus gland is the biggest immune system organ you have. It's behind your chest, behind your sternum. It's about the size of their fist, and then it shrinks down. Well, my kids probably still have maybe a 50 to 20% acting thymus. Me and you don't even have one anymore. It's atrophy,
Right.
which means it's shrunk. So
Right.
these aliens, these teenagers go out, and what have we been doing to them? We've isolating them, putting fear, no oxytocin, so whatever cells they were going to produce to have a strong immune system, we have just, and this is the policymakers. And I have to blame them because if they have to be smart enough to get the right people around them. We have just made a sicker generation because you get one shot at building up your immune system beforehand, and that's it. You have 0 to 12 for that thymus cells, T cells. We can do some stuff with B cells and cytokines with diet, thank God. A lot of stuff, but your T cells get potentiated and they figure out how to do the world, before you hit 9th or 10th grade.
Right.
And that's it. So what have we just done to them? And it makes me cry. That's why I worked so hard at trying to activate. Hey guys, yeah, I remember when the restaurants first opened, I threw all the kids in the truck and we drove around to find one restaurant. It was only one, Billy's Sports Bar, that opened up. What are we going to the sports bar for? Because it's open and we're going to interact and you're going to order a hamburger, just to get that interaction to say we're going to try to do normal things. Because when you don't do normal things, like public speaking, some people are scared of that. That's called fear. Adrenaline's release, cortisol's release, those stress hormones. When you're out of your normal routine, you release those stress hormones, which means you shut down your immune system. How many of us in America have had extra cortisol and adrenaline in the last 12 months?
Yeah, crazy.
That's not good for your immune system.
It's ironic. You think about so much of the strategy to sort of ward off the virus or hide from the virus has been absolutely backwards from a natural health standpoint. From the stuff that you and I do and the stuff that you and I preach. And we read from medical journals and we have our conclusions and then we handle it in a natural way. Like I want people to be able to walk away from this podcast with some tools, like I said, and you've given us a boatload of them, Fred. It's awesome. One of the things I want to get into a little bit is food, because I'm such a big fan. I don't eat an all plant-based diet, but I tend to lean towards it. And one of the things I looked up was, that fruits and vegetables were healthy for your immune system. What do you know about that? I mean, I know about the phytonutrient content and eating the rainbow. So you have these different colors that are going in. If you had to pick some good foods for the immune system, what do you got offhand? What are you thinking?
Well, I don't like eating them all the time, but I take them every day. Is beetroots. So it's a little powder. And some people like beets, but beets, and I'm going to get technical with some chemistry here, but we want to give people real world stuff. It helps raise your arginine level. That's an amino acid, a building block of protein. Now, you ready for this? We have special T cells called natural killer cells. They go around like a Pac-Man. They see COVID-19 and they spray nitric oxide on them and kill them. NO. So to build up your nitric oxide, you need arginine, and that goes down to beets, and there's a lot of food with arginine in it, steak and that stuff. But I just like, what, if I'm not going to cook beets, I actually have it in a shake now every day.
I love beets. Unlike you, I love beets. So I eat them raw. I'll like barely clean them off because they're organic.
Well, leave the dirt on. That's the best part.
A little bit of gravel, get some fiber, scrape that intestinal lining, get those microvilli clean. And I chop it up with a mezzaluna knife, just chop the smaller pieces. And I'll just put them on my salad, or I'll stick them in my NutriBullet and make a smoothie with them. Gives you that beautiful red color. And drink those down, because I'd heard a long time ago, I didn't know about the nitric oxide, but I knew about the arginine. And I knew that arginine was just one of those incredible amino acids that helps with
circulation,
all kinds of things.
Circulation and all. But now the researchers is like, oh, wait a minute. Why do these people have faster acting T killer cells? And now we find out, that arginine helps them make nitric oxide and spray the bacteria with it. So I'm like, my goodness, I'm just going to have some type of beets every day because that's something natural. Another thing you can look at is, are you getting enough zinc? And that's for me, I got it in the background there, is seafood, oysters and whatever. You get high levels of zinc. Not only does it help hormones, they used to say, oysters are an aphrodisiac. Well, it's because of the zinc content helps raise testosterone in men. But here's a big thing. Zinc prevents viruses from replicating in your cells. And I'll say it again. However you get your zinc, and you can get it from whole grains and stuff like that. But however you get your zinc, even if it's in a pill form, If you take zinc and you get it in your body, it prevents viruses from replicating inside your cell.
Right.
What a
Yeah,
powerful nutrient, you know?
Yeah,
Think about
absolutely.
that.
Right. I've been recommending that from the very start of this, and even every flu season, I've gotten into vitamin D and zinc as crucial nutrients for getting our immune system going. One of the questions I had for you was, can you train your immune system?
Oh,
right.
I
like saying the word train in front of you, because you're like, you start to like puff up.
I'm lighting up.
Training. We're going to train. What are we going to train? We'll train anything.
I actually wrote down some notes. I don't know if you can see it here. It says, you can alter your own chemistry. You can alter your own chemistry. And since we're a big chemical project here, you can change your immune system. So that means if mom and dad were genetic wrecks, you can do better. You can try to do better, either through diet and exposure. All right. So here's one where you have to be intuitive. And I'll let you explain more of this, and you'll see where I'm going with this, Doc. If you had a bad day, right? You had a bad day, you were in fight or flight. You know that. You got stuck in a traffic, you got a flat tire. I had a flat tire this week. Okay. Had it Monday morning, had a flat tire. So luckily there's a garage, a Goodyear, about a quarter mile from the clinic. I made it there. They're like, Fred, we can get you all done by noon. I had a nail in it. And I was going to get my tires changed, this summer. He had a deal for me. I know the guy. So, I had to walk in the snow. Yeah, we had snow up here on Monday, back and forth. So I was a little stressed, making sure I got everything done. No, it was Tuesday. So it was Tuesday. And I was trying to get people out of the clinic, a little stressed. Got my new tires. Everything was good. And I'm thinking, you know what? I was stressed out today. I need to go to bed earlier. I need a little more good water. I need a little more protein. You need to know how that workout went today. Did you have a stress workout, or did you have an immune system building workout? I had an immune system depleting day. So I'm like, okay, I don't want to get a cold from this. I went to bed at 8:30. I beat your 9 to 5. I went as soon. I'm like, nope, I'm coming home early. I went to the gym, spotted some people, got home about 8:30. I'm like, going to bed, had some water, a little extra protein. Why? And I woke up at 5 and I'm like, I'm wide awake. Well, yeah, I went to bed early, but I needed that extra sleep. You need to pay attention to what's going on. If everyone in your family has a cold and you don't have it yet, besides using hand sanitizer, you may want to eat better, exercise more that day.
Yeah, one of the analogies I heard is that think of yourself as a really great car.
Yes.
And you have 4 tires, and they have different pressure in them. And you got to check the pressure once in a while. And that pressure might be your relationships. It might be your exercise, it might be your diet, and it might be your career or your thoughts. And when you're checking the pressure, you're going to put a little more pressure, air, or time, or effort, or thought into that tire. Or it doesn't matter how great of a car you are, you're not going to drive right if you don't have 4 tires with relatively the same amount of pressure in them. Right. Yeah. So I turn to music. You and I are big lovers of music. I remember when I sent you one of these workout videos I was doing, and right away you asked me, what was that song in the background? And I laughed. I sent you the name of the song. And I'm thinking, I knew Fred would love that song. I didn't do it on purpose, but it was a workout song that I just thought, this is going to get me to do those chin-ups. Yeah. And it's such a song that's so you too, because it's about being the fire. And it was a great song. But and I don't, like you're saying, I don't tend to just read affirmations out loud, but I think affirmational type of concepts. Like I tell myself, something Bruce Lee said a while back. He said that you shouldn't pray for an easy life. You should pray for the strength to endure a difficult one.
Yes.
Because how sad is it? And Teddy Roosevelt, my favorite president, also had something along the lines of, if you're not going to do things that are going to challenge your mind and your body, you are going to get really weak, and then you're going to die, and it's going to be ugly, and it's no life to live. It's a horrifying life. So to get some stressors, take them on, but then check your air pressure, look at your tires, and rejuvenate. Like you're going to a matinee movie. I might put on Pink Floyd. But you got to know, I think you should develop these strategies in your life, especially if you're a young person and you're still just kind of coming out of the egg, trying to figure out, how am I going to navigate this world? I think you have to find these coping skills, these tools, and other times it's a book. I've told everybody, you can solve any problem with a book. I swear to God, there's a book out there for you. And when someone isn't reading, I feel sorry for them, because they're living in either on their phone, or they're living in mass media. There's some other, or just inane conversations with people that maybe around them aren't very empowering. I said earlier, we had Brittany Stamer on, and she was talking about having a good community around you, like you were saying. I'm sure the people you work out with are empowering. Yes. They're not Eeyores. You got Tigger you're working out with, right? You're not working out with Eeyores. Even as a kid, in my darkest days as a child, I didn't like Winnie the Pooh because of Eeyore. He destroyed the whole show for me. How fun is this? And the bear, Winnie the Pooh seemed lost. He's always getting stung, wasn't he? Trying to get the honey. It just wasn't my favorite. But to surround yourself with empowering people, and if you can't, surround yourself with empowering books, thoughts. Know that you can choose your thoughts. You don't have to go down that same old tape. Scratch the grooves on that record. All the stuff that you and I know. I think all these things are going to tie us back into what we're talking about today, which is how our thoughts affect our immune system.
I'm going to leave your listeners and your viewers here with something really practical. And I'm going to try to say it slowly, and I'll say it a couple ways you understand. When you're watching the media, when you're hanging out with Eeyores, it's not passive. It's not neutral. You're studying them. So you're studying losers. So when you're studying how to be in fear, if you're watching mainstream media, you're studying how to be a loser. They don't talk about the winners, how, this person, just trained for a marathon in COVID. Me and Belinda got gold medals training out of a basement this fall. No one came and interviewed us, but they interviewed, the family that lost 2 members of COVID. And that's horrible. I don't want to take anybody's, tragedy away. But are we studying the winners or the losers? I guarantee right now, every NFL team is studying Tampa Bay, because Tom Brady went there and he changed a losing team into a winner. In how many years? 1 season? One? Yeah. So they're trying to study, what did he do? Can we reproduce it? And that's what you said, books. Get biographies of Teddy Roosevelt or whoever you think a winner is. Study them. Get a coach. Get a mentor. Don't watch mainstream media. There's plenty of media outlets that are very neutral there, and I won't give their names. There's plenty out there. And if you have to, just use your phone to get the weather and the sports things and the traffic. But, guess what? If you study the winners, then you have a whole different view. My wife is almost done midwifery school. She graduates May 22. She's doing her last paper now. Hopefully she's not procrastinating. And then she's done. She studies for boards. She has a different view of the pandemic because she helped bring in 80 lives during the pandemic, catching 80 babies or helping out 80 babies. Can you imagine seeing that much life come in when everyone's talking about death and fear? She's helping the most beautiful thing. We have a whole different view of this pandemic. I trained in a basement. I didn't stop seeing people in my office. The only thing I did a little bit different is, which grocery stores I picked and what time I went there, because I didn't want to deal, with crowds. So I said, okay, I'm going to do this and that, but I didn't change what I was doing. I had to be creative to get my kids out and to do things. Hey, we're going for a walk around the block. We don't want to. You're going for a walk around the block. We're doing it. We're getting out of this house. And doing those things and being creative, just the idea of being creative releases good, happy hormones in your body and strengthens your immune system. Yes, strengthens your immune system. The reason painters and artists can live in filthy lofts is because they have a strong immune system, because they're happy all the time, because they're doing what they love. You have to start doing what you love. And if you don't love what you do every day, find something else. It's not worth cancer 20 years from now. It's not.
Absolutely. You change either how you look at what you do, or you change what you do.
Absolutely.
And that's all there is. That's all there is. If you got something, you just lost your attitude, and you want to get your attitude fixed and go back and still do it, because pretty cool job, pretty cool career, great. Get your attitude back. But if it's something that's demoralizing and soul stripping, get rid of it. It's not worth it, right? I think that's a great lesson. So yeah, I think that should do it for today, Fred. Once again, awesome. It's always it's such a pleasure to have you on the show and go over this. I think we helped a lot of people, gave a lot of people some good ideas today, and got people out of their funk, because a lot of people are just stuck and need some fresh ideas from someone that's knows how to turn the power on his patients and on himself. So thanks again, Dr. Clary, and I'm sure we'll do another one of these soon and cover some other cool topics. But that's it for today, guys. Hey, you like these podcasts, give it a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel. Also, Dr. Clary has his own YouTube channel as well. Get on there and listen to that. Podcast. What did I say?
Dr. Fred Clary's podcast. It's on Spotify, iTunes. It's on everything. It's gone pretty viral. So.
Yeah, and you have some amazing guests on there, some wild people. So it's always fun to watch those. All right, so you have a good day.
All right, thank you.
Great evening. We'll talk soon. Take care.